This is our third episode of This Is How You Do It with Dad and AJ, and we're going to be showing you how to pot a plumeria. This is a plumeria here. They can have some really pretty markings on them, like this one with the yellow and the orange. And here is the dad in the video, and he knows all about this stuff.
All right, so showed you this is just a plumeria cutting, and cutting is typically the best way to propagate plumeria rather than from seeds. This is for a couple of reasons. One is that cuttings are true to the parent colors of the plant, whereas the seeds can be something entirely new. So the seeds are not necessarily true to the parent plant that produced them. Plus, it'll take much longer. So in the case of a cutting, this is one that has been shipped in overseas from Hawaii. We're in Florida, and it's a little shriveled up, but that's okay. That's normal. And these are presumably like little, non-toxic painted markings that the grower put on here so they can keep track of which stick is which color. And in this case, this is supposed to be one that is a hot pink color. So after the plumeria has been cut, the grower likely went ahead and dipped this in some rooting hormone. And I'll show you that stuff because we're going to use some more of it. Not necessarily required, but probably encouraged. And then the stalk is left to dry out. And then after at least 5 days to a week, it's ready to be planted. And looking at this one, it looks like it's probably been, out away from the plant for quite some time. So first thing AJ is going to show you over here is some of the plumerias that we have already potted. These are about 4 to 5 weeks in. Two of these are from a local grower here in Florida. And this really tall one is one we took from our own plumeria tree, which is in our front yard. So this is a white variant, this is the yellow one, and this is another pink variety. So you can see how these have done in just a matter of weeks. So the thing to remember about plumerias is they like well-drained soil, and especially sand. They love sand. So if you're here in Central Florida, where most of the soil under our feet is sand, then you're probably in a pretty good position. So I'm going to take an old landscaper pot that we're going to reuse, and we're going to put some coconut husk in at the bottom. This is actually an orchid potting mix that comes to us from repotme.com, but we're going to use it mainly for the coconut husk because this will plug the holes at the bottom of the container so that the sand can't get out, and it also drains really well. Go ahead and dump the rest of that bag in there. So just a little bit of coconut husk at the bottom because we need those holes plugged, and it's a very well draining medium. AJ, would you like to start adding in the sand?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
So how much should I add?
Go ahead and go most of the way up. Okay. We're gonna end up putting the stick about 3 inches deep into the sand. We're gonna compact it first. But where is this sand from, AJ?
It is from the dirt road behind our backyard.
Okay, so it's right out of the ground. It's nothing special. It's not from the hardware store. So just ordinary sand.
And try to get it yourself and not at a store.
Yeah, there's no need to buy it when there's so much of it under our feet, at least in our case here in Florida.
Is that enough?
Oh, keep going, buddy. Let's keep going and keep adding it in. Here, I'll help you here.
Yeah, so let's do this thing together.
There's a little piece of grass there.
Yeah.
Keep that out. Okay, keep going. We're almost there. We do want to leave some room at the top of the pot so that when we water the plumeria later on, once it begins producing its leaves, that we can just fill it all the way to the top with water and it'll percolate on its own. Okay, that's good, AJ. Let's stop right there.
Okay.
All right, so now we're going to go ahead and dig ourselves a little hole here roughly about 3 inches deep. And so I'm gonna set the stick right there and get my rooting hormone. This is what we're going to use. This is a rooting hormone that I picked up at Lowe's, and this is gives a little boost for growing plants from cuttings. So I'm just gonna stick that in there, get that covered in hormone again, and we're gonna go about 3 inches down here. Cover it up with sand. I'm gonna pack this down. The thing you want to be mindful of here is that the moisture that the plumeria needs to get started is already in the stalk of this plant. So you don't need to water this thing daily. You just need to give it an initial watering and just let it sit for weeks. So just set it and forget it, because everything this plant needs is already inside it. Because if you overdo it with the watering, you can cause the stalk to rot. If this medium is kept wet constantly, you can cause the stalk to rot before it even gets a chance to produce leaves and roots and start self-regulating. So when you start getting nice leaf growth, then you can start watering it as you normally would, because the plant can self-regulate its temperature and its water use. All right, so now we've got this thing packed down, and we're going to grab our hose and just give a nice initial watering. Here, let's take it over here, AJ.
Okay, Daddy.
We're going to set it next to the other plumerias that we have. I'm going to grab the hose. All right, we're going to set this on a nice gentle setting here. I'm just going to give enough water here to the point that I can see that it's going to drain out of the pot properly. And this will be it until this thing starts producing its own leaves. I will not be giving it any more water. As a matter of fact, for the first couple weeks, I will probably put it under shelter so that it does not get any additional water just from rain, just simple precipitation. There we go. You see down here, AJ, in the hole, where the water is now starting to drain through our coconut husk, showing us we've got good drainage, and we're going to leave it alone. So that's it. That's how you get started with potting a plumeria, and we'll post an update video here in a few weeks. See you next time.
Bye-bye.